Hello, what I wanted to do today is cover Bitcoin. Um, the two price projections I have for Bitcoin, one being a short-term response bullish thesis over the next 4 to 6 weeks versus a delayed second half of the year rally where we might have a multi-month drawdown. So let's get started. First and foremost, I like using Elliott Wave Theory. And anytime I use Elliott Wave Theory, I make sure that it worked previously so that we have a proof of concept. So if we look at 2017's rally, bull market cycle that lasted about 4 years, we can see a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. And in each of these rallies, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ABC. And typically, once again, in wave 3, it's usually an extended wave, so you can see the wave pattern much more clearly. And here we see a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? And then we have an ABC correction and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which completes a super cycle. Now, if based on this super cycle, what this would be is wave 2 and wave 3. So let's go ahead and just draw this out really quick. If this was the super cycle, we can look somewhere around wave 3, taking us to maybe 125. Then we back test, break under 100, try to defend that psych level, maybe go down to 100K, and then maybe go back up to about 150K. Right? And that would complete a super cycle. But let's go ahead and dive into the current wave that we're at and the theses I have for this. So the question here really is this already a 5-wave structure where we've completed wave 1 and now we're going to have a multi-month drawdown correcting, which is the second thesis, right? A multi-month drawdown retracement where we bottom somewhere sometime in the second half of the year in which we rally for wave 3, 4, 5. Or is this wave 4 of wave 3, right? And we have one more leg up to complete wave 1, right? That is the question. These are the two scenarios that I want to break down and try to come to a conclusion with, right? So let's get started. First and foremost, let's go ahead and break down the wave count of the current cycle we're in. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. ABC, which is wave 1, wave 2. Now, remember, typically wave 3 is the extended wave where you can see the count on a larger degree. So is this wave 1, 2, right? Wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, where we have one more leg up over the next 4 to 6 weeks, and that completes wave 3, and then we have a 4, 5, and we rally all the way into the second half of the year, right? Or is this a wave 1, 2, 3, this this liquidity grab, 4, 5, right? And then we have an ABC correction, right? Which would be like this, up, and then go down. So that's the question. So let's go ahead and break this down and come to the thesis that I have for each projection. So in the bullish slash short-term thesis that I have here, right? The bearish thesis, if I use the term bearish, it's more of the delayed thesis. It's the second half of the year rally. But the short-term rally is, let's go with this. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wave 1, ABC, wave 2. Then we have a 1, 2, right? 3, is this wave 4? Or is this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Is the wave complete? That's the question. So let's go ahead and break this down and come up with a basis or a line in the sand so that we know what our risk is. If this is the bullish thesis, where this is wave 3 and this is wave 4, that says that wave 4 cannot extend past the 50% retracement of wave 3, right? So if that's the case, price action cannot move under the 50% retracement of 62,000, right? Now, these rectangle boxes are also something called demand, right? This is where a lot of action was traded sideways, and in demand, you typically find support. It's a type of support. So I have these drawn out. So if in this bullish thesis, right, we have a ABC correction, right, finishing ABC into a big confluence of demand basing above the 50% retracement. Now I did this video earlier and I forgot to record my mic, so it's already actually starting to base and break out, which is bullish, right? So this response right now that we're currently getting is actually giving confluence to this current thesis, right? Earlier I did the video and it was around 10:30, so it was like down here. But currently what we have is we have a base in demand, 50% retracement holding, and now we've actually broken a pivot high, right? So this is now a higher high. The question is, do we make higher highs and continue breaking these pivot highs and higher lows, which then says that we bottom, or will this be a fake out and we break below? Now, something to keep in mind is tomorrow at 2 o'clock is the FOMC meeting. This is something that will truly move the market. The dollar will respond to this, and the crypto space typically does the inverse of what the dollar does. So we really need to keep our eyes peeled for what the FOMC does and decides to do, as whatever directional move they force will probably be a real one, right? But we don't want to give it too much credit, and we want to actually have a basis for this thesis and invalidation levels. So what I typically look for is I look for a confluence of invalidation levels, right? So currently, for this to be wave 4, and we have a short-term higher high in the next 4 to 6 weeks, this 50% retracement has to hold 62,000. So as long as we have no daily closes under 62,000, this bullish thesis, this short-term bullish thesis, is intact. Now, another one that I have is if we start breaking below this demand zone, which is around 59,000, right? So if we break below 62,000 and then we break below 59,000, I'm going to say that the bearish thesis is the one that's actually playing out, where we have a multi-month drawdown, which can ultimately take us down to the next level of demand, which is 50 to 53,000. Or if it gets really bad, we could actually come all the way down here where all this consolidation is into the 40 to 45K range, right? Now, given with the massive amounts of ETF inflows, I don't think we'd make it down here. I think it's more probable that we would have this outcome, which I have drawn out on this chart, which I'll show later. But for this bullish thesis, we need to maintain above this 50% retracement and definitely above this 59K area, right? Now, I said over the weekend, I tweeted that I identified a 5-wave structure, right? And it would be likely that it would be a small pop maintaining under 70K, in which we would have another 5 waves down, in which I thought we would get in this demand zone, right? So let's go ahead and look what happened here. If we look, I didn't change any of these levels. We can see the 5-wave structure. We can see the ABC correction, which couldn't get above that 70K that I mentioned. And actually, if you look here, the blue 100 moving average hourly is actually becoming a resistance. So we want to keep an eye on that later. Like, can we start closing above that and basing above that? Because that would be a confluence of the bullish outcome. But for here, let's say that this is ABC, right? A, B, and now we have a 5-wave structure down. Let's go ahead and break this down on the micro count, see what we got here. Now, with this, I see it could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Or is this 1, 2, 3, 4? And if we look actually on the micro count today, I can actually see 5 waves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this could be a truncated fifth. If this is a truncated fifth, this is the bullish transition, right? Now we're starting to see 5 waves up, right? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what this would tell me is after this 5 waves, we would get a 50 to 61% retracement for the bullishness. So even if we rally like we have been today, it's ultimately probably going to get sold off. And then I would say that's probably going to be timed with the FOMC tomorrow. And then if it's bullish, we go higher. If it's bearish, then we could really test these invalidation levels. So this is on the micro count. And if you look and break down Elliott Wave through the entire price action, you know, there's a basis for the short-term bullish thesis here, right? Like I'm already seeing a short-term bullish thesis. Now this could be a wave 4 where we could get a lower low, right? It's very questionable, especially when you start micro counting 2 and 5 minute charts, right? It can not be as true as it thinks it is. But currently, we are seeing respect to the 50% retracement. We are seeing respect of the demand zone. Now, let's look at some other sympathy plays. If you look at other sympathy plays, we're also experiencing the same thing, right? We have an ABC correction on SHIB going around the 61% retracement into demand zone. So that's 2 points of confluence for a bullish thesis, right? And currently, we are bottom wicking, right? We're double bottoming, higher low, bottom wicking out of demand. So this, this is setting up and coming in confluence for the short-term bullish thesis. Same thing with Doge. We have the 50-day moving average support band, the 50 to 61% area, which is typically the area of retracement for wave 2, into demand. So that's 3 points of confluence with a bottom wick. So at this very moment, it's trying to be bullish. This is trying to form a bullish outcome. And it's the confluence of them all that's giving me a bias, right? Same thing with Litecoin, right? Litecoin going all the way down, 50-day moving average, which is the white line, super important level for the medium-term trend, right? 50-day moving average is the representation of the price action for the last 50 days. So if we start basing under that, that's a bearish medium term. That's the definition. So we're currently bottom wicking out of demand off of the 50-day moving average, right? So the thesis is here for all of these charts. Same thing with XRP. Demand zone. We're also respecting the cluster of moving averages on the daily. These daily moving averages are trying to form themselves and get fanned out on the upside, causing a bull trend. And currently, we're at a 50% retracement of the width of this a daily candle, right? So there's a lot of confluence of bullishness saying that we bottomed here. Sol, this thing has been running crazy. I actually think it's a little bit overextended, and even if it rallies here, I think this is an ABC structure that'll ultimately not join the next rally, right? We can get a rally, maybe we start basing around 140 to 150 for the next move. And then let's look at other points. So the main things that I want to cover in Bitcoin is the invalidation lines, right? So currently with invalidation lines, we have 62,000 and 59,000. If we get a daily close under this, that's 1 point of confluence for bearishness, 2 points of confluence for bearishness. Now let me give you two other stocks that I have my eyes on. I really think that the 62,000 and 59,000 are key with the combined confluence of my thesis for CLSK and RIOT. Currently, I see a massive head and shoulders that can be forming. Now, devil's advocate, this could also be an inverse head and shoulders. So we're in a range of confusion, and typically, or most likely, whatever direction this decides to take, it's going to be a big one. But the invalidation line is 1450, right? If we start breaking under 1450, I think this head and shoulders play is going to play out, right? And all of these plays have a really good risk to reward today, right? So if you bought this dip, like at the low today for CLSK, you were looking at 3% risk, right? 3% risk to where if we even get a double top from that low, you're risking 3% for a 55% move. That's a huge risk to reward ratio, right? Which is the kind of trades that you want to look for, right? People want to buy these tops because they get FOMO, but you want to look and be patient. Like today is where you actually allocate your funds, especially an hour ago when I was trying to get this video out. 3 points of confluent for line in the sands, right? A line in the sand and validation levels. That's Bitcoin 62K, definitely under 59K, CLSK under 1450, and then RIOT. I'd made videos about both of these if you want to check them out, but there's a lot of confluence here for RIOT. You have the all-time high downtrend becoming support resistance. You had all-time low ascending support. They literally are crossing here in demand. This is a weekly demand zone. So we have a confluence of demand zone. We have both crossing of ascending support, all-time low ascending support, all-time high descending resistance, right? With a finishing of wave 3 and bullish price action so far. So I had an entry here. The invalidation level here is $9.60. If we get a daily close under $9.60, then it can get down to $6. So at this moment, we have so much confluence for bullishness where I think we bottomed, right? But if we see RIOT daily close under 960, CLSK under 1450, Bitcoin under 62, and definitely under 59K, then that starts playing out this bearish thesis that I'm about to speak about. But at this very moment, this looks like a bottoming process. This is extremely bullish to me with great risk to reward, right? If you bought the low today on RIOT, that risk is 8 to 9%, but on the high side, right, it's 74% just for a double top. But I don't think we're going to double top if we rally from here. If we rally from here, this is a new wave in which the reward here is all the way to wave 5, which can be 157%. You risk 10%, $1,000, right? Let's say you invested $1,000. You risk $100 to make approximately 2,500, right? So something to take into consideration where we're at today and the risk profile, right? So let's look at the bearish slash delayed thesis if those four invalidation levels get triggered. CLSK under 1450, RIOT under 960, Bitcoin under 62, and definitely under 59K. If all of those get triggered and invalidate this short-term bullish thesis, then this is the thesis that I think is happening, right? What this means is instead of this being an extended wave 3, what this actually was a wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. And if I break this down, I can see a 5-wave structure here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in which this structure that I pointed out here and have drawn up, right? Right, this structure here is ultimately a wave A. And even though we rally here, it should get stumped by a B wave, which typically is in the 50 to 61% retracement. So if we get stumped, it would be in this range for the bearish thesis, right? Which is what I have here. And then we 5-wave down, ABC, and then another 5-wave down, right? And this could be the outcome. Now, that's a super bearish scenario. And honestly, it doesn't even have to be all the way down here. We got to let the chart develop to see where we're at. But these are the next points of interest, right? This could be the bottom. Or in the worst case scenario, this could be an ABC or a 5-wave structure down with an ABC correction and another 5-wave structure down where we could get down to this 37 to 44K range. But you got to let the chart develop to each one of these to really decide. But if those 4 invalidation levels hit, ultimately what this does promise us is a multi-month drawdown where Bitcoin can go down from 15 to 35% more. And if Bitcoin goes down 15 to 35% more, I can promise you the sympathy plays will go down 30 to 65%, 70% more. So you want to manage your risk. Now, even though this is an extremely bearish thesis in the short term, both of these theses are very bullish over the next 2 years, right? It's just, do we have this multi-month drawdown where we're down 40, 60%, or do we rally now? That's the question. That's how you want to manage your money, and that needs to be what you need to identify and acknowledge for your risk profile, right? Because you don't want to blow all your powder right now. You don't want to keep adding, and then we drop down another 40%, and then you can't add at the true bottom, right? If you play patience and those invalidation levels get triggered, then you know that you might as well not buy anything really for 2-3 months, right? Let the price action break down. Let the charts break down. Let the charts reset. Buy at lower prices. Don't keep buying on the short term. So these are the 2 price projections I have mapped out. Remember, the invalidation level for the short-term bullish thesis is CLSK under 1460, 1475, 1450. Sorry, RIOT under 960, Bitcoin under 62, and definitely under 59K. If all of those align, manage your risk. It's a second half of the year rally, but it will be there. The rally will come. Hopefully this was informational. I really wanted to get this out today because the price action was scary for the last 2-3 days. MSTR is like down 35% in 2 days. But yeah, check it out. See what you think. Come up with a plan, and good luck.